Welcome to In China with Michelle Zhou. Manufacturers have long known China to be a leader in their industry, but now the world is recognizing China as a business center for companies, market traders, education, and artists. It's no wonder that the economy has grown to be the world's second largest. In our program, you'll learn from the thought leaders and professionals who have lived in both the U.S. and China and continue to do business there. Now, here is your host, Michelle Zhou.
Welcome, everyone. It's so great having you here today. You are listening to In China with Michelle Zhou, and I'm your host, Michelle. I'm the founder and CEO of Pacific Technologies Consulting Group. We help American and Chinese organizations learn from each other, bridge their needs, and grow their businesses internationally. You can contact me at our company website, ptcgconsulting.com, and I always welcome you to connect with me on LinkedIn. Today, I invited Mr. Karl Weaver to this show. We would like to talk about a topic. Well, it's a claim that Karl made. He thinks China is leading in the blockchain and IoT industries. Let's figure out why. Welcome to the show, Karl.
Michelle, thank you for welcoming me back to your show. It's always a great pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah, I think last time when you were on this show, we talked about blockchain and we talked about China, of course.
And payment and security as well.
Yeah, and security. That's right. You recently changed the job. You are working for a different company, doing very exciting things. I would again start with an introduction from your side. Tell us about who you are, your connection with China, as well as the topics, right? Blockchain and IoT industry. What's the connection between that?
So I've been in the convergent PC telecom wireless industry for more than 3 decades. I've lived half of my professional working career in Greater China, and I'm a wireless market mobile device payment and security. Basically, I'm working for a company now called AIoT or ITOS. It's a stealth, Shanghai-based blockchain embedded software security firm invested by one of the largest blockchain organizations in China called Wanxiang Blockchain. That's what I'm doing now. I'm the Global Business Development Director for them with a focus to merge or integrate the cellular IoT modules with blockchain technology. That's what I'm doing. I joined in February. The CEO and I are ex-Gemalto colleagues, so I was very happy and excited to come on board because it's cutting edge.
Mm-hmm. So you have all these many years connection with China, and you've been in the industry. You are one of those people.
Many decades.
Right, many decades, right. As I said, for this topic, you have a claim you made, right? You said China is leading in blockchain and IoT industries. Why did you make such kind of a claim?
Well, first of all, because I have equal experience in all of Greater China, 37 years between China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. I have history with all 3 parts of Greater China. Plus, I'm an American, and I've been in technology my whole career. So therefore, I can provide a very level EQ when discussing technology between the East and the West, and I do that. So I have discovered that the Chinese cellular IoT module vendors are there are 9 major vendors right now, and they're all growing. A few years ago, when I was pushing eSIM to these vendors, they were small and not as large. Now they're very large. QuickTel is the top Chinese cellular IoT module vendor, but Fibercom is just a little bit behind them. And there are 7 other Chinese cellular module companies waiting in the wings to grow as well. So there are 9 Chinese cellular module vendors who are taking their technologies and they're expanding globally, and they're utilizing Western labor to sell into Europe and North America, Australia, and other markets. So they are growing.
Oh, wait a minute. So you said China has 9 major cellular IoT module vendors.
Yes.
I want to get a sense of the comparison. How many in the worldwide? Is 9 a big number or small number? Tell me more.
There are no more than 15 globally, and there are no more than 3 Western vendors who've scaled. The rest of the companies are Chinese. So 3 Western companies. Telit is a major vendor, Sierra Wireless, U-Blocks. There are other smaller vendors, but they've not scaled. Our job is to work with all of those, my company. Our job is to help all of those companies. We do not play favorites. We want the ecosystem to grow, and that means everybody needs to, be competitive and grow by using the blockchain. But there are 9 in China. There are 3 globally that are successful, and then there are a few others that have that are on the roadmap. I mean, that are on the radar. But being on the radar and having 9 in China that are successful, you can see it's obvious. It's very obvious to me.
Okay, then of the top ones worldwide, including China, what are the position of those Chinese companies? Can you tell us?
I can say that in the top 5, I believe that Fibercom and Quicktell I believe they're in the top 5. I don't know the actual rating and ranking for them, because depending on who you talk to, it's different. They're changing, but I do know in the top 5, it's a combination of Western and Chinese cellular module vendors. So that's pretty obvious right there.
Okay, now you convinced me. You have convinced me that China is leading in the blockchain and the IoT industry. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, now I want to go into a little bit in depth into this. What are the applications that China is using the blockchain and IoT technologies, and who are the users of these applications?
So very quickly, China's the largest car market on the planet. And right now in China, they have something called EID. And of course, there's a global standard for vehicle ID. It's called VID. But China has something for personal users called EID. That's a government-led project. What our company is involved in and other companies are involved in is actually taking the personal user's ID from their smartphone and the vehicle ID and matching them together, utilizing the blockchain for something called the sharing economy. The key is trusting the data. You use the blockchain simply to trust the data. Is this really the right user who's going to borrow this car or borrow this or get in this autonomous vehicle? They want to make sure that the person getting in the vehicle is actually the person the person who's intended to get in the vehicle, because they have to pay for the service. So they're using the blockchain to guarantee that the user and the vehicle match up. That's why they're using the blockchain to do that in China right now. And autonomous vehicles are going to grow. That's one example. Another example is, in Mongolia, they're using, there's a huge farming community of cows for dairy products like milk and butter, as well as for meat, right? So you have 2 different types of cows for that, but I mean, a cow is a cow. They have collars around the necks, GPS collars around the necks of these cows, and other ways to track the cows. They actually can tell how the cows are feeling. It's very important to know the health of the cow. They need to know if the cow is sad or if the cow is happy. And it's really that much of a science. It's called ag tech. There are farms in China that depend on investments from banks and insurance companies as they grow their cow herds. So they're using the blockchain to attest that this cow is healthy, safe, active, and singing to its heart's content. So it's another cool application of the blockchain.
What I hear from you is, first, the IoT part is the equipment the cow is wearing, so that you can track it, right? Second is the blockchain technology is embedded through this whole data transportation. So the data is being verified and it cannot be changed. And it's securely tracked all through this chain.
Yes, that's right. And it's using our technology actually to do that. Because we're integrating IoT with the blockchain at the edge in the module, in the IoT device that the cows are using.
Okay, great. Okay, so those are two examples.
There are so many use cases in China, and I think I supplied some of them. But one that will come right down to the hearts of anybody living in China. As you know, people need to charge their batteries on a daily basis. There are so many people who heavily use their smartphone to surf data and to talk on the phone. They very often need to recharge their cell phone. And they have these power banks or charging stations, and they're little boxes where you can use your QR code to open up, pay a minimal charge in order to charge your smartphone with this power bank. It comes with a cable and a power bank, and you charge your phone. If you fail to return that within a 24-hour period, if you don't read the fine print, you own that. They will deduct from your debit card, because your debit card in China is attached to your WeChat account or your Alipay account, and you use your WeChat and Alipay with the barcode to pay for these. So if you don't return it in 24 hours, you own it. So, and by the way, they can tell because once you scan the QR code, immediately it's sent out to the blockchain to say, Mr. Wong ordered this power bank at 10 a.m. in the morning, and he charged it for 20 minutes, 40 minutes, and he returned it. He's only going to pay 10 renminbi for the use of this power bank. But if somebody else didn't return it within 24-hour period, they buy it, and then a bill will be sent to them. It will be immediately deducted from the debit card account. And they're using the blockchain to test that the data is real, that this actually occurred. And this is actually quite interesting. And they can do it in real time. It only takes less than 10 minutes to write a block to the blockchain. And the block is written as a hash. So it's another cool use case that everybody in China charges their cell phones, and they're always looking for these places.
Yeah, I've seen this power bank in like Subway or a lot of places, restaurants, in many places. Yeah, it's everywhere.
Very cool. America needs that. We need that, right? Why don't we have that? We need that at Bellevue Square Mall.
So from what the examples you gave us, right, it sounds like in China, it's already everywhere, the blockchain and IoT combined, right?
Yes.
It's everywhere in people's life. It's everywhere in those businesses. You can see them. And by the way, the other good example is the shared bikes.
So this is kind of an interesting, strange story. And I was involved in this in the very beginning because I was pushing eSIM. All of those bikes need an eSIM, but they also need a cellular IoT module. In this case, China was doing it the low end approach, which is a 2G cellular IoT module embedded into OFO, Mobike, and there are lots of those bike companies, but there's been a shuffling out. There's been a fragmentation, and some of these companies have not survived. But the business is still going, but it's been curtailed a lot. As you know, globally, it's been curtailed because of the recklessness with using the bikes and then just tossing them up on the sides of the streets. City government doesn't really like that, so we have an approach in the West where you return the bike to the place where you originally got it. But in China and other parts of Asia, you simply leave the bike after you finish utilizing it.
Wherever, right? Yeah.
That's not been the smartest strategy, actually. IoT is being used, and blockchain is also being used now. They're using the blockchain now so that they can actually track who used the bike, where it was left. So it's going to change the recklessness of the usage of those bikes, because now they can actually track who used it, when they used it, where they left it. So anybody out there who's using Mobike services, please, TLC, tender loving care, okay, with these bikes.
Good advice to them. All right, so we talked about the current scenarios in China that we have seen, and it's already everywhere. It's time to take a quick break, and we'll be back right away.
You are listening to In China with Michelle Zhou. You may also send an email to info@ptcgconsulting.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Now we're back. Before the break, we talked about the background, and we also digged into why, Karl, you made such a claim. China is leading in blockchain and IoT industries. you convinced me, and we shared a couple of different scenarios that we see everywhere in China. Now, my question goes to, with this kind of scenario you have seen, right, and it's everywhere, I think in China, the government is playing a very key role in this. So can you tell us about what kind of things or policies or attitudes from the China side? Because I know China kind of banned the digital blockchain money in the very beginning, then it changed. All these things are changing. So tell us about the government's attitude and how is that impacting this industry in China?
So in 2018, I jumped into a company called Rivets Corp. We basically provided security for blockchain designed smartphones. And I actually recognized when I came on board that the government was basically saying, cryptocurrencies are not safe and not secure, and they are absolutely correct. What I saw is I was pushing the security side for crypto wallets. But the government was saying, no, this is not safe, it's not secure. So we're going to ban ICOs, we're going to ban crypto exchanges, we're going to ban cryptocurrency. The result of that, the smartphone manufacturers basically didn't want to go against the government's wishes. So none of them actually developed a crypto wallet, and none of them allowed crypto wallets to be downloaded. And so cryptocurrency is banned in China. There's a logical reason for it. It's called security. So President Xi in 2019 basically came out and said, well, the blockchain is actually very good. There's a lot of great use cases. And he's right. There are lots of great use cases for the blockchain. Cryptocurrency is nothing but one use case for the blockchain, which is to use a crypto wallet to take one cryptocurrency, in this case, Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., and transfer it to another stakeholder, from transferring from one to the other. The blockchain was just used to do that. The Chinese government has since come out with their own sovereign digital currency called DCEP. They haven't launched it yet, but they've been working on it for a long time. They should be commended to recognizing that there's lots of scams and hype in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. So they just were very concerned about the security of that. Also because Chinese people were taking their money outside. Some of it was for legitimate reasons, like sending your kids to Harvard University. Other reasons were to launder money. So the government said, this is not good. This is just not good. So they banned it. Because I was involved in the security side, so I totally understood. And when I gave presentations in China last year, I said, I totally agree that if you cannot provide the security of a crypto wallet, why do you need to allow it? Because hackers are salivating to just steal cryptocurrency. So the Chinese government did, I think, a very good thing to develop blockchain, public-private consortium blockchains, permission blockchains. So today, the landscape of China, you can see big and small companies developing blockchain platforms, developing blockchain technologies, and they're proliferating. And remember, China owns, or at least 50%, 70% of all the mining in the world for cryptocurrencies, for Bitcoin, was coming out of China. And so there's lots of Chinese companies doing platforms. There's lots of mining companies, and they're actually trying to go global now. The Chinese government has not banned mining. They've just basically regulated it because people are actually stealing electricity to do crypto mining. And people hack PCs in order to do crypto mining. None of those things are good. So I think what they've done is good. I think China has tried to lead in regulating the blockchain into a positive roadmap. Can I say that?
So the government on one side banned the cryptocurrency, but on the other side, they're supporting the blockchain industry itself and
Absolutely.
IoT. Yeah,
absolutely.
In different kinds of application. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that the blockchain is decentralized, right? Which means nobody owns it. Nobody owns the blockchain. But it's very interesting the Chinese government has taken the lead, because I think in the end, what we all realize is fake news is not good. Mm-hmm. And there's too much of it. And we all get confused by fake news. We all do. I mean, it interrupted the US presidential elections in 2016 and sent Trump into power. It's very, very important to make sure that the data is real. And that's the key usage of the blockchain, to make sure that the data is real. And I think China's not concerned with it being decentralized, as long as the data has been attested to be real.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I also know, I think I saw the news a long time ago about the China digital currency from the government side, national kind of efforts. What's going on in that aspect? The banks are involved.
I knew that China had been working on their own sovereign digital currency called DCEP since 2014. They started to work on this. That's almost 6 years now.
Mm.
I think what they recognized is that you have to have a control, less decentralization, but still utilizing the blockchain. You had to have control of a central bank type currency, one renminbi to one of these DCEP, and it's so that it is more like a stable coin, but since it's not fully decentralized, there's regulation because banks regulate. This is what banks do. And the Central Bank of China is regulating this digital currency. It's a natural thing that's going to occur, and they're just utilizing the blockchain to do it.
Mm.
To me, it makes perfect sense. It has to make perfect sense. So that's the way it is. China is leading in the development. They haven't launched their DCEP, but I believe that when they feel the timing is right, they will. I believe they've been trialing it for the past 6 months.
Yeah, how is that compared to the Western world? Other countries are doing similar things or not?
Yes,
Because
yes, they
we
are.
heard from some
Yes, they are.
companies like Facebook, right? They were trying to do something in that space, but
The,
from the bank standpoint, yeah.
so Mark Zuckerberg tried to push Libra and Calibra. Calibra was the wallet, Libra was the platform, which was a Swiss entity of 32, I believe 32 companies at that time. Some would say his approach was wrong. Some would say that because there's no trust in Mark Zuckerberg in the world today. Some would say that people don't trust him. That's why he failed. That could be the reason why he failed. Remember, the major importance of the blockchain is trust. Let me go out there and make this very important statement. Trust is the most important thing in the world, and it's worth more than gold in Fort Knox. I've come out with that statement, and it is especially important in technology. However, there are some who say that he did that on purpose, and that his ultimate intentions were to be more like WeChat Pay and Alipay, which is how he should have positioned his strategy in the very, very beginning, which is to push more of a stable coin based on one currency and a crypto wallet that could proliferate on the internet. So that's what he's doing now. But now, Mr. Zuckerberg can take his WhatsApp and WhatsApp Pay. He can make a WhatsApp Pay and use a stable coin, and he can still proliferate the world because Facebook has more users than actually WeChat Pay or Alipay. I think Facebook still has more users. I mean, WeChat and Alipay are tremendous, but Zuckerberg there's no regulation against him taking WhatsApp Pay and a stable coin like the US dollar and it proliferating that all over the world.
So that's from the Facebook standpoint. Now I want to circle back to the banks, right? In
Yes,
China, the banks are doing some major investment and working
absolutely. Yes, yes,
blockchain-based digital currency. Yeah, how's that in the US, for example?
Well, it's very, very different, but it's also very interesting in China. I think the Chinese government recognized that mobile network operators have a real tough time dealing with banks, but banks have no problem dealing with payment providers, no problem dealing with smartphone manufacturers, no problem dealing with post manufacturers. And so I think that the Chinese government recognizes is that if the banks can control all those other ecosystem players, they can push their form of digital currency out faster to China and out faster to the world. Because as you know, the banks all use China Union Pay, which is equivalent or equal to EMVCo. It's really the same technology, but China has its own protocol. But it's really compliant, 100% compliant with EMVCo, as far as I understand. So actually, the Chinese government has a very interesting strategy, which is it's better to work with the banks to push this DCEP out to smartphone manufacturers, post vendors, and eventually the consumer. It's smart. Makes sense. Because I was involved in trying to use the mobile network operators to push payment. Wasn't so successful because the banks and the operators traditionally have a tough
issues.
And you see that same thing in America. I came back in 2013 only to try to help T-Mobile. I tried to help T-Mobile by telling them that I helped to enable mobile payment, NFC contactless mobile payment. And I recognized that in America, we were not jumping on board this contactless mobile NFC technology, which you were also involved in.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is that mobile network operators have a real tough time cooperating with banks. So I think what you will see is banks developing their own form of cryptocurrency, and mobile network operators now saying, well, we'd like to play too, please. So you see, the shoe is on the other foot. Now it's the banks that can regulate, that can push out cryptocurrencies, decentralized currencies, stablecoin currencies. And so it is very interesting that the shoe is on the other foot. And now the banks actually ultimately can regulate or not regulate, depending on how much regulation they want. They can have it completely decentralized and use the blockchain that's completely decentralized for cryptocurrencies, or they can regulate with DCEP like China's doing. I think you see many governments like the German, Japan, especially South Korea, and South Korea is actually a perfect example of a very interesting blockchain environment where the banks are involved, cryptocurrency is proliferating, Samsung is involved, Kakao Talk is involved, and it's actually the most sophisticated blockchain ecosystem in the world, South Korea. It is the most sophisticated.
Okay. What I heard from you is any other countries, they probably will follow in the future.
No doubt.
Yeah. Okay. Now, how did those Chinese companies push the blockchain and IoT technologies so that they become the top players in the world?
They're at the stage of pushing IoT and blockchain out to the world. That's why I was hired. This is all cutting edge technology. The use cases have been proven successful inside China. Mm-hmm. Now the job is to take it globally. That's why I was hired to be the interface. China Unicom, China Telecom, and China Mobile all have huge projects going on inside the country. They are leading the world. So all three Chinese mobile network operators are pushing IoT and blockchain together, and they're pushing use cases inside China. They're actually implementing projects as we speak. But outside of China, from what I have seen, the investment has had to come from the investment arms of many of these mobile network operators. So here's what they did. Companies like Deutsche Telekom, companies like Singtel, what they did is they formed an alliance of other mobile network operators to investigate the value of blockchain starting in 2016 and 2017. They invested through their investment arms. They didn't just jump into blockchain. They weren't sure. They didn't just jump into it. So what they did is they invested in alliances. And there are various alliances around the world that I've researched. So what they did is they collaborated all together on certain, not commercialized, but they collaborated with projects. And those projects are now, in 2020, coming into fruition. So they're primed for Chinese technology right now, because they first invested conservatively through their investment arms in working with other mobile network operators and cloud providers. They combined with cloud providers, network operators, and blockchain integrators to do projects. They didn't make them very public. They just did them. Now they're ready. 2020, they're ready to go global. And the Chinese companies are ready to go global, especially our company. We are going global. I am the proof of that.
All right. I think it's time to take another quick break, and we will be back very soon.
Are you interested in expanding your business to China, but don't know how to start? Are you wondering how to grow your sales in the China market and win over competition? Meet Michelle Zhou and her team at Pacific Technologies Consulting Group. Our consultants are U.S.-China experts and have all lived and worked in both the U.S. and China, with many years' experience in market entry strategies, management, and execution. We can help you find the right partners, develop opportunities, and grow your business in China. Please visit ptcgconsulting.com today.
I want to go to the last part of our conversation today. And here, after we understand the background, China's leading position and the applications China is using and how the Chinese companies are pushing to the global for the technologies. Now, I want to hear from you, since you have so much experience in this space, what kind of recommendations you would give to the Western companies who are in the technology space?
So first of all, in my mind, the mobile network operators need to harness the power of trust by using the blockchain. The mobile network operators, number one, need to engage in projects right now. And there are lots of projects to engage in. We see more activity coming from the cloud service providers, but they need to partner more with industry, more with mobile network operators, and more with integrators to get these blockchain projects off the ground. That's what needs to happen right now. You are going to depend on lots of partnerships.
Mm-hmm. So your recommendation is, even though they are in different tech industry, they all need to partner together.
They have to, because IoT is one distinct industry and blockchain is a separate, distinct industry. And those two don't talk to each other right now. And specialists who know both, like our company, are too far and too few. And then you have an IoT team, which is much larger because they're trying to get IoT projects, but they don't talk to each other. They don't communicate with each other. They need to be, those divisions need to be merged.
The blockchain and IoT, they need to come
yes,
together.
because,
Yeah.
yes, because that is the way that mobile network operators add value-added services beyond just the sale of the module to the end user.
Mm-hmm.
You add services with management, fleet management, management of the module, the life cycle of the IoT device. That all depends on IoT plus blockchain. Blockchain can tell you when a machine was decommissioned, when it was commissioned, and when it was decommissioned, because it'll all be on the blockchain.
Okay, so those are the tech companies that we need to consider the merge of these two. Then
yes.
Let's think about the companies that are not technology companies. What are some advices you give to them so that they need to think about these two new technology, right? The blockchain and IoT. What should they do?
So it's all about what you perceive as value and what you perceive as trust. If you're okay with buying a fake knockoff Louis Vuitton purse, then you won't care about adding the real data to the blockchain. If you do care about that, and you care that your consumers who want to buy your very expensive products do care about the product is actually real and not a knockoff, you will want to use the blockchain, because you will want to give that confident feeling that when the consumer buys the product, they can simply go online and attest from the trusted data that that is the real product. It's a big problem in China with milk powder, with fake wine, fake oil. I mean, it's a big, and it isn't just China. It's a real problem. I mean, you might find this very strange, but there are knockoff water filters for refrigerators now. Can you imagine that? Knockoff water filters for it's become a very big gray market industry. It's strange. If you use the blockchain, you can guarantee that what you buy is real, because it'll all have a serial number that you can immediately look up on the internet, because blockchain is nothing but an overlay to the internet for trusted data.
So that's the blockchain side. Then on the IoT side, what are some things that do the companies who are not in the tech industry, do they need to look into now, or do they just wait? Is it still pretty far away?
Yes. So in my mind, every single car company in the world should be adding what we call a T-box, so that they can determine the health of the car, determine how the car intelligently communicates with another vehicle. We're adding more IoT modules to the car for the health of the car, for the diagnostics of the car, and for the future intelligence of the car, making the car a wallet. The car will be like your Apple Pay. The car will be that. There's no doubt in my mind that one day the car will act as your wallet. Anybody that owns a machine that you want to have connectivity to will need IoT modules. If you want connectivity to any kind of machine, you want to determine the health of that machine, you need to have an IoT module giving it any kind of connectivity you want. 4G, MB-IoT, Cat-M, LoRa. There are all kinds of connectivity solutions that you can add to a machine or a robot. So basically, they all need connectivity, and that means they all need the IoT module. But if they want to make sure that the machine is in good health, or that the machine is even real and now not counterfeit, you use the blockchain, because the data as a hash is trusted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we can imagine in the future, everything is connected to the internet, and the IoT module needs to be on those different devices, the edge devices. Yeah.
Can you imagine a robot actually picking up a cell phone and making a call? That's what the IoT module does for machines.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great. You are painting this big future for us. It also reminded us it's not just getting everything connected. We need to think about the trust
of the data
behind it. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
yeah.
It's all about the trust of the data. And it's also cool because when two industries combine, the value add gain is for everyone. So it's a good thing. I believe our company is avant-garde and leading that change and leading this integration. So I'm very fortunate and lucky to be in a company that's so cutting edge in the merging of two different technologies. And by the way, when people listen to this presentation and this conversation, they might still be confused, because lots of people still don't understand these two technologies need to be integrated.
Mm-hmm. So how do people find out more about your company and get more knowledge of how this integration is being done through your company?
So my CEO is actually quite well known in the IoT industry. His name is Mr. Leo Lin. He's quite well known. He and I both ex-Gemalto. He was running the whole IoT division of Gemalto, the former Centurion product line that Gemalto bought from a German company, I think in 2010. You can reach me by my email, karl.weaver@aitos.com. Our website is just www.aitos.ai. The best way to reach us is through our LinkedIn website. So if you go onto LinkedIn and just type aitos.io, and you can find me and all of my other colleagues and our website on LinkedIn. We think LinkedIn is a great tool.
Great. Thanks so much, Karl.
By the way, it's owned by Microsoft.
Yes. All right. Thanks so much, Karl. Really appreciate your time and your knowledge sharing today with us. Today, we're talking about China is leading in blockchain and IoT industries. You are listening to In China with Michelle Zhou. I look forward to talk to you again next time.
Thank you for tuning into In China with Michelle Zhou. Please join us for another edition next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Business Channel. We'll talk again next week.